I'm sitting under some trees.
Why, yes, you are, Grandpa Gun in a Buggy. Good job on figuring that one out. Frankly, if you hadn't said it, I would have assumed you were currently in a car wash, or at the disco, or maybe flying a plane, or all sorts of other things, because I have the perceptual comprehension of a sandwich. At least that's what I would be saying if I was part of the core audience for this video, although it would have come out more like Durr.
Why do I call them trees?
Presumably you wanted to show off that you got all the way up to the letter T in your My First ABCs book. And I must say, it's quite the achievement. I mean, I'm surprised to learn that you can read at all, let alone up to 20 different words. Well done. But to answer your question in a non-assholey way, because that's what they're called in the language that you speak, mate. We come up with words for things so we know what they are, and when one of the apes around us needs to know where I hid all the whiskey, I can point them in the wrong direction and run off to where it really is. No, it's not behind these rocks, FYI.
Why aren't they called something else? Why a tree?
Probably because of some root, pun intended, language that English stems from, also pun intended. Now, why did whoever came up with the first word that the English for tree came from and up with? Well, if I had to guess, I would say because they had to use something. And that something eventually resulted in tree. Had it been a different sound, we could very well be calling them gloms, or keyarms, or splinkbats. Language gets pretty arbitrary with a wide enough lens.
For some strange reason, that's what all of you call them.
That's pretty unlikely, mate, since, you know, not everyone on the planet is a native English speaker. It's actually incredibly likely that even some of the knuckle draggers who watch this video on purpose speak a language other than English, at least primarily. So when they see a tree, what they think and might even answer when questioned, even in English, with, say, albero, if they were born in Italy, or copac, if born in Romania, or my favourite, a boom for the Dutch, which is particularly funny to me as a gamer from the pure ownage days, imagining the confusion of someone shouting "tree headshot" at you while styling on you with their Uber Micro. If you know, you know.
All of you at the sound of my voice, here's what I know. I call them trees, and you call them trees.
Again, you don't actually know that. All you know is that that's the word you know. And the fact that you hadn't even considered that other languages exist is an extremely embarrassing flub on your part. I mean, seriously, even the most ignorant yucks in the most backwater stump-jumping gibber-speak parts of the country you're obviously from know that their foreigners done speak a whole lot of the gibberish. When you're making the stereotype look downright intellectual in comparison, you really have fucked up.
You're not calling those trees based on what Darwin said.
It always amazes me the frequency of how theists can say the most utterly, factually accurate thing for the most catastrophically stupid of reasons. Seriously, you're right. We aren't doing that, but not one person on the fucking planet who knows anything about anything has ever claimed otherwise. Darwin didn't fucking name various flora and fauna. That's not what he's known for. And what he is known for has literally nothing to do with the fucking naming conventions of plants or animals. Why the fuck you would even think that was the case? Well, I know, because you didn't think. It's not one of your skill set. And you just don't get that one with the biblical literalist starter set.
You're calling them trees because God said...
Well, let me stop you right fucking there, mate. God said nothing. I mean, not only in terms of him not doing and exist, because duh, but also in terms of anything you believe being even remotely factually accurate. But frankly, what God would have said would have been anything but English. The books that say what he did the do of, you know, the Bible, were originally written in like Aramaic or Hebrew or some shit. How do you not know this? Seriously, it's shocking just how ignorant of a thing that they genuinely believe is like the most important thing to them. And yet they simply know nothing about it. And certainly about its origins, holy fuck. Put it this way, I wouldn't even buy a coat hook without doing some fucking research. And those things are basically all the same, more or less. If I was going to follow a religion that would basically run my life, I might feel the need to know just a little bit about it. Fuck me.
After he called light, light, and darkness, darkness.
He did neither of those things. He would have called light and darkness, and you'll have to forgive me on this because I'm probably going to butcher the language, although at least I'm fucking trying to get this shit right. So I think I deserve some points, some whiskey, and a like and subscribe. But it's or for light, and it's koshek for darkness, at least in the language that the books were written in. And even that's just a best guess, because if such a being so beyond us does exist, the very notion that they would speak a language that humans could even possibly hope to comprehend is basically fucking zero. Let alone him sat there being, yeah, it's light and darkness, mate, innit? Like some sort of cockney twazzock.
What you call night and what you call dark, that's what I call night, and that's what I call dark. So does everyone else worldwide.
You know what? I was a tiny bit worried I was being uncharitable when I talked about everyone on the planet. But no, he actually thinks that people in fucking, I don't know, Japan call it night. Because they fucking don't. They actually have this completely different language, known colloquially as Japanese, using the words yoru for night and kurai for dark. Again, apologies for the likely atrocious pronunciation. And fun fact, because I just know this would be beyond you to even conceive of, they don't call it Japanese. They call it Nihongo, and the country they live in is Nippon. I know, English isn't even the default language of naming other countries. How fucking wild is that?
You turn on a light, you can see better. You say, what do you call it? You call that light. You say, did you learn that from Charles Darwin? No.
The only person having this particular conversation with themselves is you, my dude. Again, no one thinks that they learned the general words they speak day to day, like tree or dark or light or fucking clown, no idea why that comes to mind, comes from anything that Darwin did or said or worked on to any significant degree. That is the kind of ludicrous straw man that can only come from a person who has literally no idea what the people who disagree with him believe or think about anything. So, in this state of sheer unbridled ignorance, he is convinced he is making some kind of profound statement about reality. I would say good job, but I wouldn't want to blow his mind with a complete thought that only took 2 words.
The earth was, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. There was no light. All dark.
You're obviously reading out of a book. Just memorize the passages, mate. Or at least write them on the back of your hand, like a semi-competent cheater. And while that might sound good to you, the fact is, that is not the state that the Earth would have started in. I mean, it was definitely more of a glob of stuff, but dark? F*** no. The sun would have been right there. In fact, convalescing slightly before the planets around it. And by slightly, we're still talking absolutely bloody ages from a human perspective, but in a cosmological timeline, yet just beforehand. A fact that for some reason, the people who were getting their facts straight from the creator of all of those things, allegedly, just completely forgot to mention. So forgot to mention, in fact, that he actually got it completely backwards. To the point of having light come before the thing where the initial light would have come from. Almost like he was just making this shit up. But that's not fair. You do have to exist to make things up.
Y'all know what dark is, and I know what dark is. We both call it the same thing. Well, he called the light day. And the darkness he called night. What do you call it?
Well, I call it Clacknar. What? No, f*** you, that's what I'm calling it. And if I convince enough people to call it that too, well then, that's just a word for night. Hell, if we all stop using that word, night won't even mean Clacknar anymore. It'll mean something else. Or perhaps nothing else. Because that's how fucking words work. There are endless Old English words that nobody uses anymore, and essentially don't mean dick to your average person. And that's if anybody else even knows about them anymore, because they've just been lost to time. Then there are words that we still use, but have utterly different uses today, and may have another completely different use in the future, because that's how language works. It's not this defined set of rules that everyone must follow. It's a loose set of ideas that most people who speak the language have a reasonable grasp on that allows them to communicate with each other. That's it. There is nothing magic about it.
You say, well, I call it daytime, day. You say, what does that mean? You say, it's light. I say, yeah. What do you call darkness? Well, I call that night.
I'm not going to lie, watching another person have an argument with themselves and broadcast it to the world is kind of mesmerizing. I mean, don't lie, we've all done it. Had a little petty back and forth about something that's bothering us with the imaginary target of our disdain. The only difference is, we're all smart enough to realize that arguing with someone who's not there means that we very well might not actually know what they're going to do or say to our very clever points. Probably because they aren't as clever as we think they are. But when you're this stupid, even the dumbest shit coming out of your mouth sounds like pure gold. How could anyone disagree with this? I'm saying it.
Well, where'd you get that from? Why do you call it that? Genesis chapter 1.
Definitely not the cause of that, for fuck's sake. And do you think he knows he's reading a translation from another language into English? Or is he one of those absolute brainlets who genuinely believes that Jesus was a white dude from Wisconsin or whatever, and that the King James or whichever version of the Bible they personally have read, sort of, is the original? And I say sort of. I don't really count reading without comprehension as really reading. I think this is all just a bunch of sounds to him.
God said, let there be an expanse between the waters. It's a ball of water. And he cuts it in two, and the atmosphere goes this way. You have an atmosphere, a lot of water in it, and the water beneath it. So far, no dirt. Nope.
Wow, that's just so wrong. It's frankly amazing. I mean, of course the guy is a literalist, so of course his explanations for what the Earth came from are scientifically illiterate. But it's the little things that really get me. Like talking about the atmosphere, as if he has any idea what that actually means. And the concept that the Earth was water and then dirt came later, which is another categorical flip to the actual explanations we have come to from actually studying the world. The Earth was a giant ball of rock before anything else. Hot rock, mind you, that was very melty for a while, but it eventually solidified, and then the oceans and the atmosphere came later.
We're just pulling it apart right now. It's a ball of water. Now look, some dude, according to the atheists, sat down under a tree, Moses, and he figured this out on his own.
What the fuck has Moses got to do with presumably Isaac Newton? And no, this is not what any atheist believes happens unless they're an actual fucking moron. Scientifically interested atheists know that that's nonsense, and even if they aren't that into science, they certainly aren't going to think that the Bible is a historical account of the creation of the earth. They're atheists. They probably don't think anything in that book is accurate to any degree outside of maybe some of the stuff that has contemporary accounts at the same time. So they probably knew they couldn't get away with making up that particular stuff. And also they probably didn't need to because someone else actually wrote it down. But the rest of it, especially anything magic, no scientist sat under any kind of plant and figured out anything other than the Bible is full of shit.
Well, every last one of you called it the same thing Moses called it. But you don't believe in it. Well, why are you calling it all these things? The same thing Genesis called it, the Genesis writer called it, if you don't believe it?
Even if this wasn't some of the most absurdly stupid, profoundly ignorant, endlessly nonsensical parades of absolute claptrap that I have ever fucking heard, and that somehow the Bible was written originally in English, and we also happen to speak English, that would have zero impact on the book's veracity. It might ask some questions about how languages shape and evolved over time, but hell, let's just say they don't do that either. English is just the one universal language of Earth. All that would tell us is that a book written on that planet being in English is exactly what we would fucking expect. Now, if it were written in some transcendental language that couldn't be traced back to another human language and was able to describe things in a way that accurately reflected reality, although how the fuck we would know that, I have no idea, but then and only then could anyone possibly concede that it might have some kind of non-human origin, but not the other way around.
Let the water under the sky. Now we got water underneath it because he hasn't done anything with that yet. Watch. Be gathered to one place and let dry ground appear. And it was so, and he called the dry ground, are y'all ready for this? Land.
Love the fact that he's asking us to watch when he's clearly speaking, doesn't even know how senses work, fuck me. And where the hell did the dirt come from? I mean, the atmosphere was pulled apart from the water whose presence is also unexplained, but whatever. Now the ground doesn't get extracted from anywhere? It's either one or the other. Either you can generate things from other things, or you're just going to be magicking everything into existence. It doesn't make any sense to do it any other way. Oh, and he didn't call it land. He called it something in the Hebrew language, but I'll be fucked if I'm going to continue doing literally infinitely more research than he's ever done in his entire life.
Well, what do y'all call it? Atheist or believer? What do you call the dirt? We call that land.
Christ, no. He doesn't even know that there are other words for things in English. We call dirt earth, or the ground, or floor, and even call it things like cliffs and mountains and all sorts of other shit. The land is just bits of the dirt, aka the hard bits of earth, that are not currently covered in water. But there is this, most of it that is absolutely under the water, and we do not call that bit land. It's like the seafloor. It's astounding to me how utterly uneducated one man can be. This guy who genuinely believes that the Bible was written in English, a language that everyone on earth understands, and that everyone, atheists included, all believe that the earth's origins, as described in the Bible, is 100% accurate, and that both the science and fucking Moses said the exact same shit. No.
God saw it was good, and now we get to the trees.
That we do, and much like God thought all the whatever garbage he apparently did, according to some guys who had absolutely no idea how anything worked, said it was good. And I think this is not just good, but an absolutely perfect place to end this unbelievable clacknar-mare of a video, with its endless ignorance and impressive lack of anything even approaching a coherent point that reflects reality. You, sir, are about as convincing as you are sat on the fucking moon. That is to say, not very. Bye!